I'm going to be late for school." I heard him shout. "I can't find any socks." Nothing new then, I thought. He can never find any socks. That's teenagers for you. Messy, disorderly, thoroughly untidy. Yes, and he's always complaining and moaning about something. He wants to try living the life of a sock. I'm just sick of it. Never imagined it to be so hard. But I've no option now. I'm a sock. One of the many millions who lives a disillusioned and lonely life. It was never meant to be like this, was it? In the factory, when we were all ready for packaging, prior to distribution, we were warned about the life we were about to be hurled into, but none of us took the warning seriously. Can't be that bad, we thought. We had all made the lifelong decision. Yes, we had chosen the life of a sock. Were we wrong? Well, our mission was to protect, keep warm, look trendy, and more. We were to be sent out in pairs, and our partners were chosen carefully. Life partners we were supposed to be, working together for the welfare of our owner. Quite a responsibility. I was luckier than some. Not some plain old school sock, grey and boring, no. I was one of the trendy ones, shiny and black, with yellow heels and toes. Very proud of the look I was. I was placed in a pack with a few others, all with the same mission. We were distinguishable as pairs because each pair was given a different colour toe and heel. We looked good. So, what went wrong? Well, this is my story. It all began one Saturday morning. It was early. Nevertheless, the store had already been open for a couple of hours, and we were all getting restless. We didn't expect to be on the shelf so long, because the sales turnover was quite rapid. We were bored. We wanted to get to work. A few times it looked as though we were going to be purchased. We soon realised that people liked to pick things up and look at them, hold them, run their fingers over them. Their faces would go blank, and we just knew their minds were ticking over. Do we really want to take these home or not? Picked up, put down. Finally, someone made a choice. Yes, we had a new owner. At the checkout, disappointedly though, we were thrown into a bag, not nicely placed. Then tons of things were stuffed on top of us. Now, I knew I could cope, but some of the others in the pack weren't too happy, especially my partner, who was quite bewildered. I knew what she was thinking. Yes, she expected to be taken home in a nice bag, handled carefully, placed in a drawer or a cabinet until needed. Well, not so. From the first day, life was tough. The drive home was fine, but the bag was yanked out of the car, carried briskly into the house, handled quite roughly, and its contents were just tipped onto a table. I suppose to wait sifting. Good thing there were no eggs in there, I thought, as we were pushed around, only to have a battle with the beetroot and coleslaw, which nearly caused staining before we had even been used, by the way. And it wasn't our fault that the top came off the coleslaw now, was it? Well, this turned out to be our first encounter with the teenager. Oh, so bad-tempered he was. Well, perhaps he just didn't like shopping. Actually, we soon learned there were two teenagers in the house, but the younger one was more amenable. Thank goodness the boy teenager wasn't going to be our owner, we mused, when we were hurled across the room in the direction of his younger sister. "Mum bought you some new socks," he snapped. So, that was the beginning of life in the Thompson household. We survived for several months, which is quite excellent, because we soon discovered the life expectancy of a sock is short. We managed to avoid getting lost and separated on numerous occasions. Life was interesting, challenging. We went to this place and that. Then the day that we had been warned about befell us. The washer. Oh, now we had been in the washer before, though not too often, because the teenagers didn't seem to like washing. But there was something different about this day, and we all felt it. Waiting in the basket with lots of other socks, and some of which had gotten very smelly and horrible. It was a most unpleasant experience. We were left to linger there for ages, and then dragged and stuffed into the washer. Overcrowding an understatement, and the trauma began. The girl teenager clearly didn't have a clue how to work the machine, but was being obedient, having been constantly nagged by the adult in the household to help with the chores. The overcrowding meant we couldn't breathe. Then the detergent came in, far too much of it, and we all began to feel so sick. Hanging on to my partner tightly, aware that if not careful we could get separated, the water came gushing in, and it was freezing cold. We just sat there shivering for a while, and slowly the water started to get hotter, but then hotter and hotter. Oh, and I'm sure we were in there for far too long, being shaken and stirred. And then suddenly there was an awful cranking sound. A furious shaking followed, then spinning and spinning and more spinning. And we were prized apart, separated. But what I couldn't understand is why we were never reconciled. Surely we should have found each other when we were all removed and put out to dry. But it didn't happen. Weeks passed, unwanted, unloved, of no use to anyone, knowing that we would eventually be thrown out. Wondering where did all those lost socks go? Our partners. Were they eaten by the washer? Well, there was no other answer. They went in and never came out. So many of us had lost our partners, and very few people wanted one sock. So we were doomed. Waiting in the basket, I heard that familiar moan again. Mum, Mum, I'm going to be late for school. I can't find any socks. There's a basket full by the washer, she replied. But they're no good, Mum. They're all odd. No good. So the search for a pair of socks continued. Then one day someone came to stay. A quirky, most unusual character. They called him Uncle Eddie. Everyone seemed excited about his visit, and the expression recycled teenager was branded around. What could they mean, I wondered? Well, all was soon to be revealed. Uncle Eddie was a most peculiar-looking character. I would have bet my life on it he was over 70 years old, but he was dressed like, well, like a teenager. But a teenager with a difference. Everyone suddenly wanted to hang out with Uncle Eddie. He was cool, man. Eccentric in his ways, mannerisms and dress. One thing I noticed was that, yes, he always wore odd socks. What's this with odd socks, Uncle Eddie? Asked Johnny Thompson one day. I always wear odd socks, he exclaimed. I like to be different. Well, he surely was that. Nothing matched. He was colourful, to say the least. Uncle Eddie seemed to have a marked influence on all the teenagers who came to visit, and they soon bonded with him. Not to mention his individual style. Suddenly everyone was wearing odd socks. And braces. Oh, did I mention the braces? Well, a few days passed, and the most amazing thing happened. Uncle Eddie began rummaging in the basket of odd socks, and he pulled me out. Added to which he found a bright yellow sock with orange spots. What? Where did she come from? I never saw her in the basket. but then I wouldn't, would I, as we were all so scrunched up in there. Shock, horror. He put me on the left foot and the psychedelic orange spotty sock on the right. That's a fine pair, he exclaimed. Was he mad? If my other half could see me now, she would be devastated. This was never meant to be. I was clearly made for a girl teenager, not an Uncle Eddie, and I was once a perfect pair. Oh, what a nightmare. But thereby began the story of the rest of my life. I never saw the inside of that basket again. In fact, when the time came for Uncle Eddie to leave, I went with him. I never had to face the trauma of the dreaded washer again, because Uncle Eddie didn't even have one. Oh, he washed occasionally, but by hand. He just rubbed things together. Then he pegged me and all his other socks on a string line at the bottom of his garden. Oh, the peg squeezed a bit, but you got used to it after a while. He often left us on the line for days, but that didn't bother me because I love the fresh air and the breeze. The problem was, I was getting used to my new partner. I quite liked the bright yellow sock with orange spots, and we were starting to have fun. But when he pegged us out one time, we were, yes, separated. Never to be together again. What is it with disappearing socks? Is there such a place as sock heaven? It doesn't make sense. Anyway, along came a new partner. A red novelty Christmas sock with a gingerbread and Christmas pudding design. Oh, totally incompatible, but Uncle Eddie loved the match. So I suppose you would say I finally got used to living the life as an odd sock. And although I often thought of my first partner with sadness and wondered what had become of her, life actually took on a new meaning. Adventure after adventure I went. Life was interesting, but challenging. I went to this place and that. I came to the realisation that sometimes in life, good is born out of something bad. I was one of the lucky ones and I had learnt to adapt. So, perhaps the choice I made all that time ago to live my life as a sock won't be so bad after all, I thought.